What's going on YouTube? JT Born here, and welcome back to another edition to my DC comic book reviews. And in this video, we're going to talk about Absolute Batman issue number 4. This one's written by Scott Snyder. There was another artist, I think, who took over this issue, which I'll look to at the very last page. But yes, different artist this time around for Absolute Batman. But then again, the art kind of because it is set more so in the past, we get to see how this version of Batman kind of differs from the main universe. Obviously, his origin's a little bit different. How he kind of accumulated his gadgets and stuff, and how he was kind of built himself up, and just some of the hardships that he went through. Quite different. This is a Batman who was kind of just the everyday sort of people, the working class group. He comes from that, as opposed to of wealth, with the Waynes and all that too. But there's some really strong stuff in this thing. I mean, Absolute Batman's been absolutely fantastic with the couple issues so far. There's a reason this book is selling as well as it is, and people are really enjoying it because, well, it's really, really good. So we get some stuff with Bruce in the past. We kind of take a detour from kind of the current day stuff, and I was actually pretty okay with that because this is the stuff I'm really kind of interested in seeing. Let's see how this Batman is set up differently. We kind of open up with Bruce in the courtroom. Ed Joe was going to confront Joe Chill on the stand because he wanted to say something before Joe Chill ever got the chance to. And what we eventually learn and kind of see and find out about is just kind of what Bruce ended up saying to him was really just kind of a gut-wrenching sort of thing. Obviously, the Waynes had died in a tragic moment beforehand, but this one, because it was taken in such a very happy moment, this is him saying it's the happiest he ever was, and then Joe Chill just kind of showed up right in that moment of his peak happiness and just gunned everyone down, and then he realized he's never going to be that happy again. That joyful feeling was just kind of taken from him, and that line really cut through quite well. Kudos to Scott Snyder for this. But yeah, so we see some of the early days of this version of Batman. I was a little confused early on because we see this vampire. I thought it was just a Batman impersonator, but it's just kind of drawing back to some of the earlier days of Batman. I mean, the ears in that look kind of the very beginning of Detective Comics and all that. Batman even has a gun, so it kind of feels that he's trying to go for a vampire look. He even has the prosthetic fangs and all that too, and he's this isn't right. So then he kind of tosses his stuff and is okay, I got to start again. We also see kind of what eventually led them to their class trip and all that. Bruce had to build something a bridge wise in some sort of animal, but he chose a bat because bats kind of strike fear, you feel protected, and there's all sorts of different connections too. We get the stuff with Thomas Wayne kind of talking about his past, how he almost was a surgeon, but then Bruce was born because his father had passed away, died right on the spot. But again, he wanted to just kind of figure things out, and his plan kind of changed a little bit too. So there's some good moments there. We see what I like too is we get to see how Bruce, this version of Bruce, built himself up. We really see the detective work. We see him kind of okay, how do I take things down? He's learning every little detail. It's kind of little tidbits that we got beforehand, but you see him building his equipment and all that too. Just kind of having things a little bit cheaper, but still kind of working through that and showcasing his various gadgets that he's accumulated, simple fixes to kind of stop villains and all that too. See, in recent years, when they try to get rid of Bruce Wayne's money and try to do something interesting without that, but really never did, Absolute Batman found a way to do so with a Batman who wasn't really rich, but still kind of thinking on his feet and doesn't have all the same gadgets, but he still kind of built himself up and kind of had to do things a little bit more on the cheap, but also kind of think cleverly out of different situations for that too. So Absolute Batman solved that storyline where I'm just well, we want to see Batman do cool stuff. Here they found a way, and it's been really engaging. Like I said, he's taking down mob bosses and all that, fighting criminals. There's some good moments between him and his dad, and that moment right there, I knew then that this was the happiest it's ever going to get. I want to stay and never leave it, but then it was just kind of taken from him too. So, and I just want you to know that I hate you. I fucking hate you, and you hear me. And then he never heard what Joe Chill had to say. He wanted to say his words before he ever did to kind of confront him in that moment. So, but yeah, like I said, there's flashbacks to him and his dad, and then we see he was just kind of working through the different layers of what he wanted his Batman to be until he eventually kind of did some trial and error and settled kind of on what he wanted to. So, and also his little building project too, it has kind of ties into Gotham. He wants to be fear for the criminals, but a symbol of hope for kind of the working class members of Gotham too. So, and that's kind of sort of where the issue ends. Then we see him going to confront Joe Chill. He wants to know what he wanted to say in that moment because he's got that anger and rage within him. So artwork, this one, I prefer like the first couple issues, but since this is a flashback issue primarily, I think it works in that regards because we're getting kind of a grittier looking Batman. I mean, he goes for the full vampire look here too. It kind of reminded me, what was it, Justice League Gods and Monsters, where we had that version of Batman who was like, was it Kirk Langstrom or whatever, the vampire take on Batman, because he even had the fangs and everything that trying to go for it. And even like when he bit people, it kind of infected somebody or something like that. Like it just, like his fangs did stuff too or something. I don't know. Like it's just, you know, just going for the whole vampire look, trying to be a creature of the night, and it just wasn't working. So he had to kind of shift things around, build himself up stronger and more jacked, and definitely like taking, probably borrowing Bane's venom or something like that. Like he just got shredded out of his mind, and you see him kind of building his little tech and all that too with his like engineering stuff. So some really good stuff in here. I mean, I think what they're doing with Absolute Batman is a breath of fresh air, like this whole, I guess, Ultimate Universe of the characters. Now, I have not read Absolute Superman or Absolute Wonder Woman yet. I think I want to check those out at some point. I know they're on the DC app. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But what Scott Snyder and company are doing with Absolute Batman, I think is really working. Like I said, it's its own unique take on the character, but still having some of those kind of quintessential like Batman characteristics, but doing so in a new and like interesting way, like how he kind of gets to the point where he's at that feels really fresh for the character. So if you aren't reading Absolute Batman, I highly recommend it. I think this might even be like one of my favorite issues of the bunch, because it is delving more into like this version's Batman's like past. The plot is a little bit easier to follow in some ways, because when you get all like the crazy detective stuff, and that's fun of that too, but sometimes this one, just like I said, it's a little bit more straightforward. It's just seeing how he kind of developed himself. Makes me think back to when I was watching Batman Begins, but in its own sort of like unique like take on it all. But yeah, like I said, loving what they're doing with this thing. That moment too where he's in the courtroom talking to Joe Chill, that like hit really hard, like because he just talked about how this was like the peak happy moment in his life. Because I think too, when you look at like Bruce Wayne when his parents were gunned down in Crime Alley, it was like, you know, they just kind of like had left the theater or something. Maybe he was scared leaving it or whatever. It depends on like what version you go with. But I feel like that moment right there, like, is it all built up to that, like just him and his classmates, and it's this great happy moment. I mean, and it's just kind of taken. Like Crime Alley, you got to be a little bit cautious because it's well Crime Alley, but here it's just like he was just at that school having like the best moment of his life, pretty much. Like he was like never happier with his family there, and then it's just taken from him in an instant. So I mean, there's been instances of Bruce Wayne's origin that kind of done that a little bit too, the Wayne's death, but here they did so like in an interesting way, and having him in the courtroom actually say those words to Joe Chill the way he did, I think it really worked and was all the more effective. But yeah, so those are my thoughts on Absolute Batman issue number 4. What did you think of it? Post your comments down below. Be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for more content, hit the bell for notifications, all that fun stuff. That's going to wrap it up for the DC comic reviews for this week. Now, I think some who are watching this video probably saw my community post earlier on in the day, but YouTube decided, you know what, Sean, we're going to demonetize your entire channel. So I'm going to be like, but that just kind of like motivates me even more to kind of get back to it. But basically what happened was I had posted like a slight clip from the movie Commando and just put the caption, me preparing for 2025 as a short on the channel. Did not monetize it at all. Just did it as kind of like a simple like meme joke sort of thing. I mean, I posted this to other like social media platforms just to kind of get a laugh out of some people. Some people thought it was funny, and I thought it was, because I just thought like, oh, you know what, this is not going to get monetized or anything like that. What no harm, no foul. And all of a sudden YouTube just like puts like the boot down. Like they didn't just delete the video or anything like that. They're just like, no, your entire channel is demonetized for this. But I'm like, but I didn't monetize the video at all. Like, why is this? You're like, no, it doesn't matter. It's not right. So I deleted it, but it's like, oh, well, you have it. You can't appeal this because you deleted the video. I'm like, well, what the heck? So now I got to wait till April, and I got to fit like some new criteria to get back to being like monetized again, which it frustrated me because like I'd spent several years trying to get up to that, and then it was just taken like out of nowhere, like unsuspecting. So word of advice for you all, never post any clips from anything unless you have like some other kind of means to kind of tweak around with it. Like you do like a trailer mock-up or something like that, or you add your own voiceover. Like, don't just post things with a caption on it as kind of a funny joke, because YouTube will just be like, we're going to demonetize the whole thing. Like, why didn't you just tell me just to take it down, or just give a warning or something like that? You demonetize a channel for that? Like, to me, that just seemed a little ridiculous. They could have just let me know beforehand, like, hey, unless you take this thing down, we're going to demonetize it. So the whole channel, but like no warnings or anything like that. At least copyright strikes, they warn you before something happens. This was just completely like out of nowhere. So hopefully, like I said, I'll be back to it. Like I have to like reapply in April, but in the meantime, it's just going to motivate me even further right now. Like you take something from me, it kind of like infuriates me more. It makes me want to like really kind of stick it to somebody like, oh, so this is the challenge you're trying to present to me. So I'm more motivated than before. So I'm going to get a lot more stuff out. Got to hit the watch time goal because I need like another like couple hundred or like 1,000 extra hours of watch time between now and April, and I think I could do it. Just got to get like pumping stuff out and get things out there, and yeah, so looking forward to like just getting back on that horse. But yeah, that was a complete surprise to me when I logged in to try and upload some stuff today to see that. So yeah, but for those of you who don't care, like I said, I just want to kind of bring that to everyone's attention. That's why you won't see ads in the video. So for some people are like, sweet, no ads. But for me, like I said, it's not like I got much off YouTube, but it was just kind of one of those things where it's just like, it was just a little extra that I pretty much just put right back into the channel. It was just kind of a fun hobby, but still, it's a frustrating thing. So, but luckily YouTube's not my primary source of anything. This is just a fun hobby. But still, like, just kind of grinds my gears. Like after all this time that was just taken away from me. So yeah, I'm going to be like fighting back and just trying to like put more stuff out than before. At least that's my intention. So I'm ready to kind of like kick into high gear right now, so that just motivates me to go even further. So but anyways, I appreciate you all for watching this. That's it for the DC books for this week. On Friday there will be an after the movie of Den of Thieves 2. I had talked about the first film before on the channel like 6 years ago, but I'm looking forward to seeing this like second movie because like first one wasn't actually half bad. I was actually kind of rewatching it the other day as kind of a refresher because I'd forgotten so much that like happens. Like I remember key moments, but we'll see. I mean, I didn't expect them to make a sequel because it's like it feels like you're kind of late for it, but we'll see what happens with it. But anyways, that's all I have to say. As always, take care now. Bye bye then, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.